Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us and a very warm welcome to worship. Our opening words this morning. Let us be quiet and still at the beginning of our worship. Let our anxious thoughts and racing minds subside and feel within us that deep well of spiritual peace, whose water cools our worries and brings us refreshment and comfort. And now we shall have our chalice lighting. Feel free to join in with me. We light this candle as a symbol of our faith. By its light may our vision be illumined. By its warmth may our fellowship be encouraged. And by its flame may our yearnings for peace, justice, and the life of the Spirit be enkindled. And now we have an opportunity for anyone who wishes to share a joy or concern with the congregation.
I lit my candle this morning to remember Frank Williams, a retired Unitarian minister who lived quite close to the Charlie Chapel. He was a man who struggled with relationships, I think, but the last time I spoke to him, he was telling me that he had an idea for a service that he hoped to do on Zoom. So he always faced forward and had a positive outlook. So rest in peace.
If there is no one else who would like to share anything at this time, we shall begin with Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Thank you. And our first hymn of the morning, all from the Purple Book this morning, is number 147, Spirit of Earth, Root, Stone and Tree.
Spirit of earth, root, stone and tree, water of life flowing in me, keeping me stable, nourishing me, oh fill me with living energy. Spirit of nature, healing and free, Spirit of love expanding in me, Spirit of of life, breathe deeply in me, inspire me with living energy. Spirit of love, softly draw near, open my heart, lessen my fear. Sing of compassion, help me to hear. Oh, fill me with loving energy. Spirit of nature, healing and free. Spirit of love, expanding in me. Spirit of life, breathe deeply in me. Inspire me with living energy. Spirit of life, you are my song. Sing in my soul all my life long. Gladden and guide me, keep me from wrong. Oh, fill me with sacred energy. Spirit of nature, healing and free. Spirit of love, expanding in me. Spirit of life, breathe deeply in me. Inspire me with living energy.
Well, thank you for that very spirited performance, Rob. I really enjoyed that. And our story this morning and the inspiration for the service, and on mine, my camera looks back to front, but never mind, is Towser and the River Rats. It's one of my favourite childhood stories, and it's a real joy to share it with you. Unfortunately, I'll do my best, but it's unlikely you're going to be able to see the fantastic pictures, which I presume were also done by author Tony Ross. But if you have children of your own or grandchildren, invest in these books. They're cheap and they're very worthwhile. So anyway, to continue with the story. So sometimes at the weekends in summer, Towser liked to go to his holiday house by the water. He enjoyed everything about his holidays. He enjoyed the bus trip to the river. He enjoyed the packing of his things, but most of all, he enjoyed just lazing about, doing nothing much. He liked to fish, and he never caught anything, but then he never wanted to. It was just nice to lie watching his float, nodding how do you do's to the dragonflies, and generally enjoying the doing nothing muchness of it all. Nothing much ever happened on the river, except on the one day that the water rats arrived. Towser thought that the water rats were noisy scallywags. They owned a steamer, so they started a shipping company and did small nautical jobs for the animals who lived near the river. One day, the water rats spied Towser's summer house, and the captain thought that it would make a good base for their headquarters, and so they made to land the boat. The water rats landed after much bumping and splashing. "Good day, sir," said the captain. "We couldn't help but notice your fine summer house. It's well built and in just the right place to be the head office of our shipping company." Towser slowly opened an eye. He didn't say anything. He just watched as the rats examined the summer house. They pushed it to see if it would fall over. They poked it to see if the wood was rotten, and they looked at the bottom to see if it was firmly fastened to the ground, all the time chattering and squeaking with excitement. At last, the captain spoke. "We'll give you 2p for it," he said. "We've looked at it carefully, and it's worth no more." "Worth no more," squeaked the other rat, who seemed to do all the work. "I don't really want to move," said Towser. "I like it here. It's nice." Towser showed the water rats inside the summer house. "Look how cosy it is. The television works. It's worth more than 2p. "All right, 4, growled the captain. "And that's my last offer." "Done," said Towser. "On one condition. I want to ride on your steamer." "Done," grinned the captain, and paws were shaken. Towser put his 4p in a safe place, then began to load all his furniture and things onto the little steamer. "What do you think you're doing?" screeched the captain. "I'll take my ride now," answered Towser. "Well, how long is it going to take?" moaned the captain. "Oh, I don't know," yawned Towser, making himself comfy. "It depends how much I like it. Maybe all summer." The 2 rats quivered with rage. "We've got a living to make," they screamed, "and you're taking up most of our boat." Then Towser had another of his ideas. "I'll tell you what," he said. "I'll buy back that summer house. I'll give you 2p for it." "But we gave you 4, wailed the captain. "Well, you both said it was worth only 2, pointed Towser. And the rats had no answer to that, so they had to accept Towser's offer. 2p were handed over. "Well, I better put my things back in my house then," said Towser. And the rats were only too happy to oblige. They arranged the furniture neatly again before Towser changed his mind. Then they jumped back in their steamer and set off down the river as Towser counted his 2p profit. Towser watched the little steamer on its way about its business and stood by his house and sniffed the air. It was a perfect evening. "I'm glad things turned out like that," he said to no one in particular. "I hate boats." And I know that's quite a light-hearted story, but as an end to that particular light-hearted story, for those of you who haven't led worship on Zoom yet, you probably don't realise that as a worship leader, on my screen at least, it zooms in to any one random participant during the Zoom session, and I can see every little thing that you're doing. So you don't quite know which one of you I've got my BDI on. Sometimes it can be quite distracting or amusing. I just thought I'd add that. You all seem very attentive this morning, but I just thought I'd warn you. So we move on now to a time for prayer, which will be followed by the Lord's Prayer. And I wanted us to keep in mind this morning, although it's now already been mentioned, the passing of Frank Williams, who formerly ministered to Chorley congregation. And as I also read in my news feed this morning, those people that are fleeing from the erupting volcano in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which seems a hugely horrific experience. Can't imagine what they're going through. I don't know if any appeals or anything else has been set up yet. I've only just discovered this, but we shall keep them in our thoughts and prayers. Now I'd like to continue with the Lord's Prayer, and you are welcome to join in with me if you wish. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. And now we come to our second hymn of the morning, which is 205 in the Purple Book, When I See the Purple Heather, to the tune of Caliplan.
When I see the purple heather like a gown upon the hill, when I see the lark ascending to the sweetness of its trill, I'm reminded of the mountain and the love that will not cease, of the teacher of God's kingdom and the angel's song of peace. When I see the lake reflecting in its mirrored light of day, when I see the April pastures, sheep that graze and lambs that pray, I'm reminded of the healing on the shores of Galilee, and the Lord who is my shepherd, who will lead and comfort me. When I see the pathway winding on and so far ahead, when I see the river widening as it flows along its bed, I can hear a voice proclaiming, I'm the way, so do not grieve. Peace I give like flowing waters, do not fear, my peace I leave.
Thank you for that, Rob. I didn't realise that lambs could pray, but I believe you. And now we come to our second reading of this morning, which is from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 4, verses 35 to 41. Jesus calms the storm. Later that day, when evening came, Jesus said to his disciples, "Let us go over to the other side of the lake." Leaving the crowds in the town behind, they took Jesus just as he was in the boat. There were also other boats with him. A furious squall came up, and the waves broke over the boat so that it was nearly swamped. Jesus was in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. The disciples woke him and said to him, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, "Quiet, be still." Then the wind died down, and it was completely calm. He said to his disciples, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" They were terrified and asked each other, "Who is this? Even the wind and waves obey him." Now, you don't have to believe in miracles to take something from this story. I think that all too often we can get caught up in the rush and fear of immediate circumstances. If we could pause for a moment and take a breath to reach out to the source of the divine and the hope that exists within each one of us, we may yet keep our heads in moments of crisis when all about us are losing theirs. And now we will come to a time for silent prayer and meditation, and I shall open with this reflection. Ill at ease, discontented, restless. We name these feelings loneliness and seek escape into comfort or excitement. Stop. Acknowledge the source of these feelings as a desire for the divine within, a power to lift us out of enslavement, estrangement, and displacement. No other human being, with all our faults and flaws, can do this for us. Out of an openness to the divine flows a universal loving, one which sees the other not as a threat, but rather turns burden into delight and demands nothing in return. Now we have a time for our own silent prayers and reflections. Thank you, Barry, as always, for that wonderful music. Just perfect. I didn't catch what Rob put in the chat for the corner of my eye, but I'm assuming he was ticking me off for changing the order of service. Telling him, if so, don't worry, there'll be no further surprises. So we come to our third hymn this morning now, number 199, another favourite of mine, Weaver, God Creator.
Weaver, God Creator, sets life on the loom, draws out threads of colour from primordial gloom, wise in the designing, in the weaving deft, love and justice joined, the fabric's warp and weft. Called to be co-weavers, yet we break the thread, and may smash the shuttle and the loom instead. Careless and greedy, we deny by theft, love and justice joined, the fabric's warp and weft. Weaver, God, great Spirit, may we see your face, tapestried in trees, in waves and winds of space. Tenderness teach us, lest we be bereft of love and justice, join the fabric's warp and weft. Weavers we are called, yet woven to wear born, for the web is seamless if we tear we're torn. Gently may we leave that fragile earth be left, love and justice joined, the fabric's warp and weft.
Thank you very much for that. That was lovely. It wasn't the tune I expected, but I can work with that. It was still fantastic. So the address this morning is based, as I said before, on the story we heard from Towser, specifically the doing nothing muchness of it all. Now, that particular story and the series of books from author Tony Ross that were told to me time again as a child, they really stuck in my head. And The River Rats is one of my favourites, containing, as it does, my favourite word in the English language, doing nothing muchness. And this signifies for me neither laziness nor incompetence. Rather, it encapsulates the simple pleasure of being wholly present in the moment, of simply being, instead of trying to be somewhere else or cross the next goal off the bucket list. As we've already heard this morning from the book of Towser, Towser enjoyed everything about his holiday. He enjoyed packing his things, the bus trip to the river, but most of all, he enjoyed just lazing about, doing nothing much. He liked to fish. He never caught anything, but then he never wanted to. It was just nice to lie watching his float, nodding howdy-doos to the dragonflies, and generally enjoying the doing-nothing-muchness of it all. Now, I will confess to not being much of a fan of fishing, but the point made by the author remains a valid life lesson. It's not the getting there, but the journey, the process, and not the end result. It may indeed seem like any sort of a holiday is something out of a storybook for most of us at the moment. But when we are finally able to venture forth to somewhere further than the garden or the supermarket, what attitude should we take to our regained freedom? Will we be dashing round the shops, trying to get the last bargain? Will we be running to catch the bus or train? And when we get to our destination, will we try to cram in as much activity and sightseeing into 24 hours as possible, up at the crack of dawn with an itinerary planned for each and every day? Now, to be fair, I'm probably projecting my own childhood holiday memories and my own parents' desire to be in control of everything a bit too much here. But is there not a small part of that desire to be in control in each of us? Such desires come from a very primal and yet very human place of fear and insecurity. If we can control our surroundings, we can be safe. If we can predict or arrange the future in such a way that our control over our surroundings remains constant, then we can continue to remain safe. And this attitude can spill over into so much of the rest of life. We race around trying to cram facts into our heads, food into our mouths, money into our bank accounts, activity into each minute and second or hour of the day. All of this to escape and blot out the truth that we are not ultimately in control of our finite lives upon this finite planet with its finite resources. What if we just stopped for a moment? Stopped, took a breath, and were content just to be. Wherever and however you are, just be there. Towser's moment of being there is with the dragonflies on the river. Perhaps your being there moment is in the garden, pruning a hedge, or in the kitchen, kneading dough, reading a book by the window, or, as I witnessed my brother doing recently in an unguarded moment, playing with his children in the front room. You don't have to be a meditation guru or a Jedi Knight to be one with your surroundings. You just have to stop trying to be somewhere else or someone else. This is not a call to stop trying or achieving forever, because if that were the case, as a species, we would never have climbed out of the swamps. The point is not to miss the journey on the way to the destination. As the saying goes, you can't take it with you. I am pretty sure that no one here on their deathbed will declare, I wish I had spent more time at my job. And I like my job, just as a point of reference, but I'm probably not going to say that on my deathbed. When we relax and let go in these precious moments and simply experience the doing nothing muchness of life itself, I believe we can become closer to the truth of life and to the divine than we ever are in all our other moments of activity combined. As the great haiku poet Bashu once wrote, and this is one for our poet in residence, the famous one of the old pond: breaking the silence of an ancient pond, A frog jumped into water, a deep resonance. So where will you today find your moment of doing nothing muchness? Seek it out, wherever you are, whoever you are. Just accept it and be there completely. May it be so. And now we come to our final hymn of the morning, number 212, Where My Free Spirit.
Where my free spirit onward leads, where there shall be my way. Be my own light illumined, I've journeyed night and day. My age a time-worn cloak I wear, as once I wore my youth. I celebrate life's mystery, I celebrate death's truth. My family is not confined to mother, mate, and child, but it includes all creatures, be they tame or be they wild. My family on this earth includes all living things, on land or in the ocean deep, or borne aloft on wings. The ever-spinning universe, where there shall be my home, I sing and spin within it, as through this life roam. Eternity is hard to ken, and harder still is this. A human life, when truly seen, is briefer than a kiss.
And now for our benediction. And these words taken, as has much of the inspiration for this service, from the words and writings of the late David Dawson. Winds be still, storm clouds pass and silence come. Peace grace this time with harmony. Fly, bird of hope, and shine, light of love. And in the calm, let all find tranquility. Amen. I shall extinguish the chalice candle, and then we shall have Go Now in Peace. Though we extinguish the light of this candle, our faith burns on, our vision remains bright, our fellowship warm, and our yearnings for peace, justice, and the life of the Spirit constant. So be it, until we meet again. Go now in peace.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of God surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of God surround you everywhere, everywhere
Our worship is at an end, and if you haven't already done so, feel free to go and make a tea or coffee, as I'm about to do, and we shall reconvene in a couple of minutes for a post-worship chat.